Hello, it's Leslie here. Today I would like to give you my thoughts on owning the Apple iMac and why I will probably never own anything Apple ever again. I should say that I've always been a Windows person and all my computers going back through the years have been Windows PC things. Not the actual IBM compatible ones, cheaper ones. My first computer was a Micro B, but after that they're all PCs. So in 2014, I bought an iMac, and I mainly did that because I'm interested in design, and my career is mainly to do with design now, graphic design and a little bit of industrial design. And I thought, well, all the designers, all the graphic designers are using Apple, so I've got to do it too. So I bought the Apple. The last things that clinched me over to Apple in the beginning was that you could run Windows on it. So you could run a dual boot. Okay, so I got this iMac, and I'm using it now to record this. I got this iMac in 2014, and the reason I bought it was simple. I bought it for the display. So it's a 5K display. At the time, 4K monitors were dearer than this whole computer with a 5K. So it was a pretty much, I didn't have to think at all, really. It was a good deal at the time. It had a 5K screen with, a computer inbuilt in it for less price than a 4K monitor. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to get that. And I got it. Now, Apple software initially annoyed me, and I kind of got used to that at the school I went to, at the college. That was fine. It was just a couple of keys that were different. Okay. But the main thing I don't like about it is the physical side of it. So it looks good. I was going to say it looks fantastic, but I don't actually think it looks fantastic. It looks good. It just looks fairly plain. There's not much style there. It's just very minimalist style. The very first thing that annoyed me though was the USB ports being on the back of the computer. So I have to reach around every single time I plug in a flash drive, but I can't see where I'm plugging in anything. So I have to scratch around, potentially scratching the back of my, Mac like this until I find the USB. So that was the first thing. And I got used to that after a few months. I thought, okay, all right. Even though I think the USB ports should be on the front. So that was one thing. I also noticed that there weren't enough USB ports. 4 ports is all you get on this Mac, and it's never been enough. So pretty much I got fed up with wireless keyboards and wireless mice that were running out of batteries and dying on me, so I went back to a wired keyboard and wired mouse. I haven't had any issues since I've had a wired keyboard and a wired mouse. So, fine, but that only leaves me 2 USB ports left. Now keep in mind, a graphic professional has a lot of stuff. So I have a tablet. I have one of these things. Let me just find it. I have one of these 3D things here. I haven't used it in a while because it's not plugged in. A space navigator. So that's 2. I have at least 2 of these. Okay. What else do I have? I have storage. I'll show you my storage. That's my storage. There's like 6 there of that. Another 2 there. Alright. So I also have usually a a phone that I need to plug in and recharge. I have the webcam that I'm shooting this on, because the webcam, this one here, it's not very good quality. It's not very good quality. So I have to buy an external webcam. Same with the microphone. Here's my microphone. So that's a USB microphone. So all these devices meant that I was constantly plugging in and unplugging devices all the time, all day long, plugging in, plugging out. You know, if I've got to record a video and I have to put it onto the external thingy, bang goes in that. I'm juggling USB ports, I got fed up with it. And I thought, right, I will get a USB, I can't actually show you now because they're plugged in. I'll get a USB, yeah, I forgot the word, USB hub. So I thought I'll get a USB hub. So I got one of the little small Cable Matters ones that has 4. I ended up buying 4 of those because I was so fed up of not having enough USB ports. Even I bought two of them. They're giving me the 2 existing ports and then 8. It was never enough. It was never enough. So I ended up just thinking, fuck it, I'm going to buy all 4 ports. And so what I have done in the past is plug one 4-port USB hub into every single port on the back. So it gives me 16 USB slots free. So at that point, I've not run out of USB thingies, USB ports. 8 wasn't even enough at times. 8 wasn't enough because you think about it. Right now, I have the keyboard, I have the mouse, I have the webcam, and I have the microphone. That's 4. So if I want to even do one thing, like record this video to an external hard disk, I can't do it without a USB port hub. If I want to check something on this while I'm doing something else, I can't do it. So 4 was just ridiculous. 4 USB ports was ridiculous. So that was my main gripe, and I thought, all right, I'll get the hubs, the USB hubs, and I got 4 of them to give me 16 USB ports, and I was happy for a while. I was happy. It was working. Everything was working. Had my 16 USB ports, which is more than the iMac Pro or any Mac Pro even, and I was happy. And then all of a sudden, after I think it was last year. So it was, you know, after a few years, I'll say it was quite a while, it was 5 years, but the computer started making noise, which is, you know, fair enough. I'm not blaming the computer for making noise, and it was the fan noise. The trouble is though, that on a PC desktop, you kind of take it for granted. You know, if the thing gets a bit dusty, you open it up, blow it out with you know, compressed air, or you can even do it on a hairdryer on cold if you're very careful, you know. But on an iMac, you can't do that. So, you know, I didn't realize that when I bought it. You know, when I bought it, I looked at the specifications and it says, yes, the RAM is upgradable. Yes, it's serviceable or whatever. So in the meantime, I've upgraded the RAM. It has the full 32 gigabytes of RAM in the back, which was easy enough to do. Fine, good, I was happy. But as I said, it started making a horrendous fan noise, which I couldn't ignore after a while. I just couldn't ignore it, and it was doing the computer harm because it was running hotter than normal. Horrendous fan noise. So then I found out how I'm going to repair this thing. So the trouble with that is I'd have to take it to an Apple service center, because Apple, you can't undo the thing on your own. You can't undo it. You void the warranty, even though it's out of warranty by this point. You void the warranty. So it was like, well, you've got to take it to an Apple service center. The nearest Apple service center for me now is about a 2-hour drive away. It's in Canberra. So that's a 2-hour solid drive, lots of twisty, curvy roads, and it's a pain in the neck. And I thought, you know what, that's going to take me a whole day of lost productivity going to Apple, paying them to open up my computer just to fix this fan noise. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I had to think about it, and I thought, some of that money, and the petrol money, mind you, because, you know, that's a lot of petrol, 4 hours in your car. Some of that money, then I probably would have had to spend time in Canberra as well, because I'm not going to drive there in the morning, have all day, and then drive back in the evening. It's just too much. So I'd probably book a hotel and even leave it there. I don't know. But anyway, it was all becoming too hard. So I thought, I'll try and do it myself. So that's when I found out, you know, that these things aren't very serviceable. So what I mean by that is, if you want to open up your computer, your iMac, to service the SSD or to upgrade the SSD or to you know, clean out the fan, you have to split the screen. So what does that entail? That entails you buying one of these things. It's like a little mini pizza cutter. And you go all the way around the edge of your screen, you know, all the way around the edge. And you literally split it because it's glued together with double-sided foam glue tape. That's right, a $2,000 computer is held together with glue. All right, well, I did it, and you know, I thought, while I'm going to have this split open, I will upgrade the SSD. Okay, so I added an SSD. So this computer originally came with a Blade Apple 256 gigabyte hard disk. I threw in an SSD in there where the other old thing should be, and it was a 2 terabyte Samsung SSD, which I actually glued onto the back of the case, even though they don't recommend you do that. It's alright for Apple to glue things on, but you can't. So they, you know, you're supposed to stick it in a bracket. I thought, fuck that, I'm just going to glue it on there and it'll be fine, and it has been fine. But you need a special cable to plug in that SSD, right? It's not just a 2-minute job. In a PC, that would be literally a 2-minute job, 1 minute, 30 seconds even, you know? Open it up, plug it in, and off you go. But they don't make it that easy. You have to buy a special cable, adapter cable, for the SATA SSD. That's fine, I did that, it's all fine. So I bought this second-hand fan that had been refurbished, and it was like, I don't know, $60, say, I don't know. So I replaced this fan while I had the computer open, and it's quite hair-raising experience because, you know, this is a $2,000 computer plus, you know, and even more with the RAM and all the investments now, it's more like $3,000. The glass is only about 1 millimeter thick on here, right? So when you have it open, it's really a two-person job. You can't do it with one person. You risk dropping it and breaking it. And at one point I thought I'd broken it, but I hadn't. So it's very stressful. And I don't think plugging in an SSD or repairing a fan should be that stressful, but it's stressful. So that was the thing for me. It's very stressful. Plus a day lost in productivity. Plus the SSD wasn't recognized when I plugged it in, but that's another story. I won't whinge about that too much here. Just to say, it wasn't simple plug and play. So, I did all that. The funny thing though, is that they will claim that you need to remove both speakers to do anything on this Mac. To replace for example, I'm getting off of track because there's just so much I want to say here in this video. Apparently, to add an SSD or any hard drive, you're supposed to remove the motherboard to do it. That means you have to remove both speakers and the power board logic circuit and the motherboard. So that's a big job. That is a big 2-hour job just to plug in or upgrade the existing hard disk. Now, with the Blade SSD that they have got, that they've included, the Blade one, the one that looks like like a stick of gum, chewing gum. They have put it on the back. So yes, I'll find out whether you can replace it without removing the motherboard. I was able to replace one of the hard disks without actually removing the motherboard. There's a video on this channel how to do that. So I saved myself a little bit of time. The trouble is though, I glued it all back together. That went fine, but I was running out of space again because the main hard drive was 256 gigabytes. The Apple portion takes up 25 gigabytes. Mainly I was using the Windows with Boot Camp 99% of the time, if not 99.9% of the time, 100%, virtually 100% of the time, I'm using the Windows anyway. Right, so I'm always running out of space on this machine. 256 gigabytes. I should be able to go and upgrade it very easily, The thing is though, that it's not easy. It's very fucking difficult. One of these my oldest USB flash card here, right? This little thing here, this pissant little thing, has 8 gigabytes on it, right? This one here, an SD micro thing, this has 8 gigabytes. My whole computer, this whole desktop computer, has run out of room. It has had 0, right? At the moment, I think it's got 3 gigabytes left on it. That's what I'm dealing with, 3 gigabytes, because not everything can be transferred to the other SSD, the SATA one. So the Blade one is now full again, and it's been full umpteen times, and I've had to clean it and do all sorts of things. So it's finally run out of room. It basically needs upgrading. I've run out of room. It's 99% full, 98, 99% full all the time. It's very slow now. So it needs upgrading. So I've got to split the screen yet again to replace the second hard disk. Twice. So, they don't make it easy, I found out that, of course, Apple uses a proprietary connector. They don't just use the standard M2 interface. You can't just go and buy one of these and plug it in. It doesn't work. You have to buy an adapter. You have to buy an adapter or use a special SSD called IndMem, an Apple one that costs not just as much, but more than a Samsung one does. So you have to either get one, wait for that to arrive from China or wherever, that you can plug in without any adapter. But then, if you buy the IndMem one that doesn't need the adapter, how do you clone your hard disk onto it? Then you've got to do this time machine backup thing. Well, the time machine backup thing doesn't work with the Windows portion, right? So it becomes a very complicated process, a very complicated process. So in the end, I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll just forget it. I will use the adapter. I know it sounds horrible. I will use the adapter. I figured out it doesn't. I researched it a little bit, and it turns out that it doesn't affect the speed too much. In fact, you can get faster speed because you can buy, a faster SSD like this one, which is fast. WD Black, which is faster than an IndMem one. So, yeah. So what I'm going to do is buy an external. I'm going to buy an external reader for this thing, clone it onto there, and that'll be fine. Now the thing is, this is for my laptop though. This is for my laptop, and I've got one here for the Apple, the iMac. This is the one I'm going to choose because it was quite good value for money. It's a little bit future-proof because this is actually a PCIe Generation 4 thingy. The trouble is though, this is not, I know already it's not going to fit. Just pull it out over here, it arrived today. This thing here, it's not going to fit because it's too thick, you know. It won't fit because that will hit the back of the machine. So I've got to take the heatsink off that. Fine, okay, whatever. The point is though that I've had to split the screen twice and I've lost 2 days of productivity, bare minimum. So with all these proprietary connectors, it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm just a little bit fed up because I think, you know, the top priority, Apple makes it so the top priority is aesthetics, followed by speed second, and then practicality third. So I think a PC is the opposite. It's speed first, then practicality, and then aesthetics, right? Which is kind of how it should be because, you know, you want a computer to be fast when you're using it. There's nothing worse than using a slow computer. So my next computer, I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to try and make this one last as long as possible because I don't believe in throwing things out sooner than you should. It's bad for the environment. So I'll be trying to keep this thing, hopefully with this thing in there, it will last another 4 years and I can say, well, I've had my computer 10 years. Now it's time to upgrade to something really good. You know, by that time, no doubt the PCI 5 will be out. You know, and I'll probably do some sort of double CPU, double GPU RAID 0 machine to blow the pants off of any iMac. So, I'm a little bit fed up with iMac. I haven't actually used their software much. I never got used to it. I found that most of my programs that I use were on Windows. When I plug in this baby, I will be going Windows only on this computer. Forget the Apple partition. I'm not going to even bother with it. It's going to be a Windows computer. I'll have to fit. That'll be another problem though. When I go to sell this machine, it'll be a Windows computer on Apple hardware and it probably won't get as much resale value. But whatever the hell, I'm not putting up with losing 25 gigabytes of precious hard space just to keep the Apple side of things. You know, it's very frustrating not being able to open up a computer easily and blow the dust out of it when you have to. You know, that's a routine maintenance job and it should be done every, I don't know, 3 to 6 months or so, right? I didn't realize just how often I used to blow the computer dust out of my previous computers. It must have been every 6 months, once a year, but they never made any noise. You know, that's fine that this one's making noise. It's basically saying, help me, service me. But then, look what you've got to do to service it. Will I be able to fit this in without dismantling half the computer? You know, if you have an iFixit guide and it's saying you've got to split the screen, you've got to take off the speakers, you've got to unplug the power board, you know, take out the power board, take out the motherboard to get to this bastard slot. You know, I don't think I'm going to need to do that. But even just splitting the screen, you know, I actually think Apple's making a big mistake. And I think they should make it easier than a PC to service. You know, they should have a system, you know, if you could imagine something which is on like struts, like a parallelogram struts, you know, a bit like, well, a BMW boot or something like that opens up. Psh, gas struts. That's what I'd like to see. one button and the back just rises up like a Lamborghini door. That's what they need. And then you could just plug it in, because then it would be faster than a PC, which you have to use this to get to, right? So that's what I'd like to see. I would like to see some sort of, if it's not cool enough for them to put slots in the back, little trap doors, make the whole thing come up, man. Make it magnetized or something, so you can just, so it upgrades like that. If you're a creative professional, you can't be losing 1 day or 2 days here or there productivity. I think they design these things just for like rich people. And after 3 years, maybe you're meant to just throw it away or sell it as is and let someone else deal with it. But as someone who I try and make my products last. I'm the sort of person that buys something good and then, tries to keep it for 20 years, Maybe that's not possible with computers, I know, because they get, obsolete faster. But that's the whole point of buying quality, is so that things last, right? But if you can't even, if it becomes a pain in the ass, if you can't even, do simple maintenance tasks like clean the fan out or replace the fan, and that becomes a 2-hour job minimum to do that, then I think something's wrong, I think they focusing on aesthetics too much. Yeah, it's a nice looking computer, but I'll be darned if I get another one. I don't care. At the time it was a good purchase, but now they've got 8K screens now. My next computer hopefully will be some sort of 8K beast. I don't know, because I don't know. I haven't even thought about that yet. But I already know that this job's going to not be fun. Mainly because of the fragility of the screen. The other thing I was going to say is, when you pull off the screen, the connector that the screen goes to, you have to sort of, the connector that connects the screen to the connector that connects the screen to the motherboard is very flimsy. It's one of these sort of things. Here's a keyboard thing for my laptop, a replacement keyboard. The connector, it's one of these type of things. It's one of these. They've got a lot of these connectors inside an Apple, right? That is not meant to be undone like more than a couple of times. It's not really even meant to be serviced at all. It's not a proper connector. If you go and buy a PC, you slot the bastard into one of those PCI slots. It's not going to break. It's not that fragile, right? But the little connector on this 5K iMac is ridiculous. It's like one tiny speck of dust could get in there and wreck it. And I'm afraid to even open it up again for fear that when I plug it back in, the screen won't work. That's how paranoid I am about this computer. The connector, I think, to connect the screen is not durable enough. It's too flimsy. It's like in a laptop. These things, they're not meant to be serviced, I think. They're just meant to be, throw it away and let some African person deal with it or something. I don't know, but I wasn't happy when I found out about the whole screen splitting procedure. Plus, you have to buy, the double-sided tape. That's not such a big deal, although it is still waste. You buy it, you get all plastic with it. Anyway, I'm not looking forward to opening up this computer. I'm just over it. I'm over the whole Apple experience, if you like. I must be one of the only... I feel like one of the only creative professionals. I'm not even a professional, but I feel like one of the only people that is running, Windows, these things on Windows. But I find myself faster on Windows I just won't ever go back. I'd never used the Apple software. I couldn't get used to for example, I'm an illustrator. I couldn't get used to Corel. No, I couldn't get used to Adobe Illustrator, even though I have an Adobe subscription. I mainly use it for Premiere Pro and After Effects on the Windows side of things. Other software that I'm using is CorelDRAW and Rhino. All these things you can use on Windows. So for me, yes, the computer's lasted. I don't think it's that well built in terms of serviceability. Yeah, my next computer, I will be going back to a PC. I gave it a go, but I couldn't get used to the whole Apple thing. I don't own any other Apple devices. I never have, and I never will. I won't be getting an iPhone. I won't be getting an iPad. None of it. I have an older Android phone over here, and that's it. I tried it. It didn't work for me. The computer has been good. It has lasted me 6 years so far, but almost 6 years. I'm hoping it lasts another few, because by the time this is finished, I'll need some sort of $3,000 PC beast to replace this thing, and hopefully that will last 8 years. Who knows? But I just think the whole screen gluing together thing, if you tell people that you need to remove the motherboard to replace the SSD, that's like taking a car to the service station and saying, pump up the tires for me, change the oil, and they've got to take the engine out, or the transmission, or both, to change the oil. It's just not right. It doesn't feel right. Or to put new alloy wheels on it. It doesn't, Anyway, I've had my rant about this now, so thank you for watching. Bye.